to it's all right. I've just bloody had myself muted all through there, but it doesn't matter. You've all been able to hear me. We're sorting out the sound still. Trouble. No problem. Hopefully you can hear us. One sec. Hopefully you can hear anyway. So yeah, I'll begin again. Last week it was very DJ orientated. We were discussing a lot of different topics, predominantly around music, about live streaming, and I wanted to open up the talks and maybe split it into two sections. The first section can be a general chit chat that will encourage many people to join us, and then towards the back end of the show, or the final half of the show, we can talk about any specifics that the wealth of knowledge between us might be able to impart upon one another. So the first question that I'm not sure whether you saw, maybe you all did, because I know you do see most of my posts. The question was, what is the role of a club DJ? And I've made a couple of notes about this. This is all going to be purely subjectional. It's all situation dependent, of course, and some of the questions to consider that we will discuss. Is the role of the club DJ to make people dance, to educate them musically, to share familiar music? When the vibe isn't working, then what happens? Is it the DJ's job to stay true to himself for the booking that has taken place, or is it his job to give the crowd what they want if what he has been booked to do isn't working? And then if what he's been booked to do isn't working, is that the fault of the DJ? Is it the fault of the promoter? Or an important and interesting question, is it the fault of the crowd? Because I believe there is an unwritten, or there should be, it's probably a romantic idea, there should be like an unwritten pact between club, crowd and DJ, that they're going to put their trust in him. So there you go. I will open up the floor. Maybe I'll always come to Simon first, because I know he has a wealth of experience.
I'd start off by saying it'd be generational first.
Okay.
Because, we started out in a different era where, before the whole DJ thing really kicked off, we were music lovers with kind of like our own sort of local following. Mm-hmm. I think we established ourselves in our local areas. And I know for me, I started off in the blues era, where it was about keeping people in as long as possible to keep people drinking for long as possible. And along the way, you kind of built a rapport. And then that kind of evolved into pirate radio and then into clubs. But it was different back then because there wasn't that many things to offer. So the people kind of followed. They really had their trust in certain DJs. Certain people had trust in DJs. Mm-hmm. So for where I started from, it was very different. Whereas now, I tend to usually only play places where, one, it has to be a certain level of musical knowledge, an expectation of the people. Otherwise, I can't be a jukebox. I wasn't raised that way, and I don't like to play that way either. So I guess it depends on generations, because now the role of the DJ has changed. You are almost co-promoter in the event that you're playing on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, great points there. You definitely echoed a lot of the things that I was thinking. We are from the generation that didn't know any better, because we were forging our own path. And you did put.
We were the people with the kit, with the equipment, with the records. It was very specific back then. Not everybody had 2 turntables, a mixer, and a bag of records. Mm-hmm. So by default, if there was a party going on, I know my phone from Saturday afternoon. People either want to be borrowing my turntables, borrowing my mixer, or wanting me to play at one event, an early one, a house party, a club, or a blues. So there were always 4 or 5 gigs over every weekend since I was between 19 and 24. Mm-hmm. I was always busy.
Wicked. So let me welcome Julie along. Julie's joining us for the first time this week. She caught the recording last week. Your thoughts? Hi, Micah. You're right, mate. Julie, your thoughts on what Simon was saying?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Oh, excellent. For me,
yeah, we can hear you, Pugs. We can hear you.
Oh, sorry, you can. Shut up. Sorry, Emily. Carry on.
Julie, go on.
For me, I'm from the era of sound system because my dad, when he was in England, he's from that era. So for me, I was more of a freestyle music lover. Then I went to university, trained in media and communications, then did the radio broadcasting. So I've gone the more professional route, so to speak. But for me, I like to go to places where the music is more catered to my style of music that I like to listen to. In terms, I want to encourage the crowd when I'm going to go back into DJing again as well. I like it to be a two-way communication sort of a process. I don't want it just to be me. It's not really about me, really. It's about giving people the opportunity to socialize, to get together again, just to dance, to feel good, to release all the stress from the week.
Okay, so would you say that there isn't as much emphasis on the music being shared? You want to take you as the DJ, take yourself, not take yourself so seriously. That probably doesn't come across correct, but you're just there to provide the backtrack, the soundtrack to people socializing. But at the same time, there's got to be a level of quality there.
Yeah. It's a two-way. For me, it's a two-way
thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
For me, it can't be one thing.
So let me ask John then, as someone who's wants to get into DJing, but probably would see him predominantly more as a clubber. When you go out, what is it that you want to hear from the DJ? Because when this question gets asked online, I feel that most people always come out with the standardized, I need to be educated. The DJ's got to push my boundaries. Not everyone feels that way. What's your opinion?
Yeah, I mean, from my point of view, when I go, I think I get confused sometimes by DJs when they have so much experience, but they will still play the old classic tunes. And I think, why do you do that? Why do you come to a table with so much experience, but then still play these classic tunes? And I suppose, as you've just said, it's like I do want to be educated because, I've been around the scene for over 30 odd years. I don't want to listen to these classic tunes. Think, why bring them classic tunes to the table when there's so much variety of music out there today? Why not educate the people?
I hear you. I can see
first and foremost,
safety. Treble Trouble is clearly Andrea, Carol, and Denise. Now they've come back as Wardy's Angels. So I'm hoping you can hear me, ladies. You don't need to put the camera on if you don't want to. Thank you for that, John. I agree. A very quick example of that at the recent Vocal Booth weekend. I shan't mention any names because it's not really fair, but one of the DJs who was playing, one of our guest DJs, there was a point where I felt he was playing quite familiar and not in the style that I expected him to play. And I actually said to him, listen, if you're enjoying what you're doing, then you carry on doing what you're doing, but please don't be afraid to do whatever you want with this crowd. You can take them wherever you want. And then as soon as I said that to him, even though beforehand on the email communications, I told them, this could be the gig that you always dreamed of. You can do whatever you want with these people. I still didn't think that's where he'd got to in his set. As soon as I said that, the music changed. And I looked over at him and he was like, okay. So sometimes, to answer your point, John, I think it's that trust of the crowd, that knowing the crowd as well. That's why residencies were always like gold dust to us back in the day, to build that rapport. And then also as well, some DJs, depending on where they are in their journey, they all want to go for that wow, Instagram hands in the air, crowd screaming moment. Well, you can't really do that when you're constructing a correct set. I don't believe anyway.
Do you think the pressure of being a headliner, one of the big names on the ticket, not just for that event, because I think I know what you're talking about, but just generally, I think DJs that have that kind of big name position on a flyer or a ticket, like they probably do feel pressure to perform with songs that, lots of people are going to know and tried and tested crowd pleasers. rightly or wrongly. But so is that also, certainly not putting anything on you, Andy, but is that also a communication that the promoters can?
Well, no, I don't think it. I don't think it could be. Okay, the last thing I am going to do is make any excuses for myself. I just share facts. As I said, I did actually go out of my way when booking the DJs. All of the headliners said them, listen, this is a tiny, small event. You're going to love this. Speak to all of your peers. They're going to tell you what an incredible crowd it is to play to. And then again, a few months later, because everybody knows what I'm like with my emails, I stated it again. Don't forget, come and do whatever you want to do. You're going to come away feeling totally enriched by this experience. So it comes back to my original question. Is it the fault of the DJ? Is it the fault of the crowd? Because if someone is playing a record, I don't know. I mean, I laugh about it back in the day. And coincidentally, I shared a flyer for a Choice FM boat party that we did that had DJ Disciple playing. DJ Disciple came over and he played for me on that boat party. And he played Fats and Small, Turn Around, in the era of the biggest and best Tony Humphries, Yellow Orange records, Kerry Chandler, Masters at Work. And a few of us looked at each other and rolled our eyes like, what's he doing? No, because he thinks that's one of the biggest tunes in the UK at the moment. So it is very difficult. There's no right or wrong. We all know amongst our crowd how people roll their eyes.
My comment wasn't aimed at you.
No. I'm just saying generally, between us all, there's a roll the eyes moment if someone plays Days Like This, Sean Escoffrey, and yet it's an amazing record. So why does that happen? Let's not get into the anthems thing. I'll shut up. I'm talking way too much. Emily, your thoughts on anything that I've just said? As someone who's looking to smash it now on the DJ circuit, are you going to be looking to educate, or are you just looking to have the best time possible?
A bit of both, really, I think. So for me, I would say I don't think there's anything wrong with a big record. Shoot me down if you want to, but there's a lot of people that it holds a lot of memories and holds a lot of the moments in time. But also as well, the crowds that are coming in, the younger crowds, they may not, they're hearing the re-edits, not hearing the originals so I think it's a bit of both myself. And at the end of the day, I'm going to play where I want to play. If you want to join me, you can join me. If you don't want to,
cool. That does come down to confidence. Pugs, someone who's been around from time. You've played a lot of credible clubs, but you used to play a lot of the more commercial VIP clubs. What were you doing back then?
I played a certain style that everyone really enjoyed. Obviously, that's why I kept getting booked. The one thing I'll keep saying is, this is my opinion, of course. I believe the reason why DJs, especially DJs that tour a lot or got a lot of gigs every, X amount per year, becomes lazy. It's laziness. That's why they play the same tunes. And when I was in the prime of my 2-minute career, I was playing 3-4 gigs a week, like 12 months a year. 12 months a year, yeah, that's right. And I got lazy as well. I thought, I know if I play this and then play that after that, then I'll play that. All the ladies would start coming to the dance floor. Then all the men will come to the dance floor. And it was just, I hardly switched everything out. Mm-hmm. It was just the same, but
was that residencies or guesting though?
Both. Mm-hmm. Both. And we're talking about R&B and hip hop now in the 90s. I was playing a little bit of House of Cabbage, but it was mainly R&B and hip hop. So it's a different thing. Yeah, that's what I call garage, sorry. House of Garage. So yeah, that's my opinion. If it makes any sense to you,
of course,
that DJs get very lazy. That sounds like I'm dissing people. It's not a diss. It's just that you kind of get set in your ways. You know what works. You can play the new stuff at the start of your set if you're doing a certain, unless you've been thrown right in there at 2 a.m. or whatever. But you can play the early stuff, the promos, maybe some old stuff that people have forgotten about for the first half hour. It depends on how long you're DJing. These days, DJs get 5 minutes. You know what I mean? It's because there's 40 man on the bill. But not taking a pot shot at anyone. But yeah, do you understand what I mean?
Yeah,
that's
totally
my
get
opinion.
that.
I'll
Danny?
stop talking.
No, that's okay. Talk as much as you want. Danny, you got any input on this, brother?
Well, I like the way that before anything Pugwash says, he has to put his disclaimer in. Do you know what I mean? I'm not blaming anyone, but
What?
but I might be a bit controversial. I'm sure we've had this conversation once or twice, either on the message board or wherever. But I don't believe that anyone takes you on a journey. That to me just sounds bad, because you're not going anywhere. Do you know what I mean? You're stuck in a club for 8 hours of an evening. It's not like you brought your passport and then you're just going to get onto a plane to some sort of high music heaven. But on the flip side to that, I really do like it when DJs just play what they want to play. You know, it's there's certain people out there who will just throw in a curveball at any sort of point of the night. And if it works, fantastic. And generally it does, because, you know, you want to hear something a little bit different. But the warm-up guy, you know, if he starts banging out 140 BPM Soulful House classics, well, that's basically your night off and ruined for the whole thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
I prefer to hear something different. You know, that's why kind of a really big fan of Theo. We'll just play some really weird Detroit house, and then he'll just go throw in some really weird jazz track, you know, halfway through the set. And not all the time it works. Let's be honest with that. Not all of the time it works. But he's one of the people who you'll stay there for because you want to hear what he plays next.
Okay.
And for a lot of DJs over the years that I've seen, you're just standing there because you just don't know where else to go. They don't do anything for me. It's just kind of like, right, I'm out for the night. I don't want to get the last boss home. And that's what I'll do. So it's very much, I like people to take a risk.
Mm-hmm. You are very, not dissing you at all, it's a compliment. You are very much a musical purist as well. So
Danny's actually written down what I just made some notes on. It's about programming. Yeah. You know, people are expecting that old school format in a new school environment. You know, they're getting there late, missing the build up for the night. So the journey's already been had. The journey started. People aren't there. People used to get to the venues at 9 o'clock when the warm-up DJ was on. The warm-up DJ would provide that space, that environment for people to get together, gather, get all the talking and all the bullshit out the way. So when the headline DJ came on now, it was a different story. Now people are getting there late with preconceived ideas of what they want to expect and what they want to do, and are totally missing the point of some of the DJs. Now that also then comes down to the promotion of the night, people using wrong labels for music. That's what I feel. You know, the word soul has been absolutely hammered. You know, going out for a soul night and you're hearing reggae, possibly pop music, you know, and you're hearing deep house and you're hearing, you know, different stuff. I think the labeling of the nights and the construction of the nights, people want that old school experience. If you were going out in the 90s, you knew you had to get out early. Now people kind of get there late because they don't want to be seen, you know, exposed in the corner with 2 or 3 friends. So Danny's got a very valid point.
To be honest,
I think that's also
label it, right?
Sorry.
How many events do you see that people are providing? Again, I'll do a pugs here, and it's not picking out anybody's names, but lots of people promote the nights. That's brilliant. It's good, and they're all very popular. But the promoter is Deep and Soulful House. Now, I go out. Who's playing any deep house? No one. Why put deep house on your promotion when you've not booked any DJs who are renowned for it? The warm-up DJs won't play any of it. So what is this deep house that you're playing? You're not playing any. So it's just a bit of a misnomer. And I don't know why people still do it. And we're in the year, 2022, and deep house still doesn't get played in clubs. Boo to everyone who doesn't play deep house in clubs.
Boo. Good point. Let me welcome the ladies on. Denise looks like she's on tech duty. Do you guys want to speak, or are you just happy to talk?
What?
What?
I mean, yeah, sorry. You want to have any input, or are you just happy to listen? Belated birthday greetings, Andrea, again.
Thank you.
Okay, let's have some input from you, you beauties.
Go on, Denise. You can talk. Yeah, I can. I was thinking that there's no right or wrong answer to your questions, really, because it depends on the night, it depends on the DJ, and it depends on the crowd as well. I think that I would agree with, avoiding laziness, or, if you go, if if you go out and you spend a night somewhere and there are multiple DJs, and you might get to one DJ and that person then happens to repeat a track that has been played throughout the day, and you think, okay, is that lazy, or is the person just showing up to do their little slot? Because back in the day, I think, I'd see way more DJs just hanging around, soaking up the atmosphere and just trying to get a sense of the vibe and then adjusting to it. Because to me, good DJing also means being capable of just changing what you've planned, what you've set out to do, because the reality of what you're confronted with, so the crowd, the room, might require something else. So that kind of flexibility, that ability to just read the room, or if there's a room to read, and then adapt what you were planning on doing to that reality. I think that's what it's all about. But you have DJs who then will stick to their set and saying, right, okay, I'm not going to rack my brain trying to come up with a solution there. And that is then felt because it doesn't feel fluid, it doesn't feel authentic or natural. It could be a pre-recorded set, if you will. So, so I don't think that there's one way of doing it, but more about fluidity and just reading the situation at the time.
But that comes down to then it being very subjective. Because one of the points that I said earlier on, if I'm spending £5,000 to book DJ XYZ to come and play, and because I'm a fan of what he does, and I believe the crowd is going to be a fan of what he does, when he comes and does what he does, and it, for whatever reason, it doesn't connect with the crowd, is it authentic for him then to change? Even though most DJs you spending that much money do have it in their locker to be able to adapt. If I've given him a brief, stick to this, and it's not working with the crowd, is that my fault for misjudging the crowd? Should he stick to his guns? I mean, there is no right or wrong answer, but it's just throwing it up for debate.
To be fair, Andy, you know your crowd by now. You've been doing this vocal booth for nearly 10 years, isn't it? And you've also been doing your nights over in Birmingham when you were a superstar DJ, as it were. So you would know your crowd, and you would surely be booking your DJs for what you know your crowd would like.
Yeah, but I think most people do. I think we do a disservice to a lot of promoters. I think we do a lot of disservice to a lot of DJs as well, to use the phrase lazy, not attacking pugs, obviously. I don't think any DJ purposely goes out there with the intention of being lazy to just
the magic is, though, isn't it? Is the magic is walking away and being confronted with that situation and solving that puzzle.
Yeah.
That's where the magic is. To be presented with that situation, know what you're confronted with, and being able to switch and read the room. And then the magic, the cherry on top of that would actually be then to almost stay true to yourself, but then make it work.
Yeah.
I think that's where a lot of, time to wake up.
I also think Andy made a good point about talking about courage to one of the previous comments. So DJs being brave enough to play what they want rather than what they think people want to hear. I mean, that's, again, if you're going back to
I don't think any DJ goes into a venue and just totally switches off and thinks, I'm just going to play what I want. There is that balance. Do you know what I mean? With any set, even being selfish, you have to be selfish to a point, not to alienate people who are there. Because if you want to take everybody on the journey, there has to be a bit of compromise. There has to be a couple of those big records. And it's when you overweigh the well-known stuff with the unknown stuff, that's when the problem for me kind of underweighs. There's a way of programming unknown records. And when you feel you're losing the people, dropping one or two, bring them back, and then go again. And that's where the journey's kind of missing. But now the DJ sets have been reduced to an hour. What can you do? If you're used to playing 4 or 5 hours, an hour's a nightmare.
That's a whole different topic as well.
That's where the mentality comes now, because you're going to lose your next booking if you don't perform. Everything now is so visual that's compromised the whole music scene, because you're now thinking about, shit, if this goes wrong now, I'm not going to get another booking. So that's that in itself is compromised music.
Sorry, Pugs, what are you saying?
Like the Rick Astley moment.
The Rick Astley moment.
Exodus. Wow.
But you know
I
what?
believe it.
So Pugwash is talking for one or two people who won't be aware of this. I booked a DJ to come and play at Vocal Booth about 6 or 7 years ago, and he played his own reworking of Rick Astley, "Never Gonna Give You Up." Now, I remember being stood in the club behind the DJ booth, looking down, and everybody was vibing. Everyone was loving it, grooving, because I thought to myself, okay. And I actually went out of my way to purposely assess the evening, see and nobody batted an eyelid. Everyone was going. The next day, he got slaughtered on the Facebook group. Everyone was questioning. And I was like, well, as far as he was aware, it worked. So it's crazy, right?
Well, because you've always got the gang that needs to be seen as being cool, and that's the age of the internet, isn't it? Being able to enjoy something and then go and slag it off the next day, just because otherwise you won't look good.
I think people felt guilty maybe just afterwards. Oh, bloody hell! I shouldn't have enjoyed myself. That's.
Yeah.
So let me ask you three ladies. I mean, again, you are musical connoisseurs, but I'm not sure. Would you roll your eyes if you were on the dance floor and someone played, for example, Sean Escoffrey, Days Like This?
No. I'll be outside smoking, talking shit. Making new best friends. Yeah.
Because we've all got records that we don't like. I mean, I won't mention them personally. Everyone will know I'm talking about. There are certain records. Gypsy Woman, people hate that record and they'll leave a club when it comes on. Now, again, I can't think of a record that I have that same reaction to. But that's by the by, because that's a completely different topic. We're all right with 30. We've got 25 minutes left. I don't think we're going to do two subjects in a day. We'll just carry on talking about this. Any other points anyone wants to bring up when it comes down to the role of the DJ?
Residencies. It's the missing component throughout of all of it.
Mm-hmm.
We can't, as DJs, express ourselves and find our sounds without knowing who we are. And residencies gives us a chance to understand our records, understand our crowds, and more importantly, have a local. What I feel is missing from the UK is we've got so many DJs now who are world class, but not many of them. There are probably Sean and Deli that I can say are standouts in their own communities that constantly have that presence in their own area.
Mm-hmm.
Not many of us do. And I think the residencies is key.
Mm-hmm. But key. Then again, you're talking about having a residency for an age group of people who possibly wouldn't be there every week to support them.
Not necessarily. If you're there, then people have the opportunity to come out. I'm sure that Deli and Sean just don't play it for 50-year-olds. I'm sure they've got a lot of young kids that come out too as well.
Paul Foster with his
that's where you bring the younger people in. There's not an opportunity for the younger people to get into. There's a lot of snobbery in our scene.
But the younger crowd have got their own scenes now. I mean, Emily will be a perfect example. She's by no means a young pup, but she has got experience of clubbing. But a lot of the parties that you're going to now, there are a hell of a lot of youngsters there who, as you say, they're loving the mashups, they're loving the bootlegs, they're loving the reworkings. Now, I don't think it would be amiss of me to say that a lot of the word of mouth parties are very commercially edged, but that's how he's getting 3,000 and 4,000 people in stately homes in the UK. So, what's right or wrong? That's if that's the angle you go in, then so be it. And Emily,
people
go on.
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say, Emily. You're, as you said, you're just going to be playing music for yourself. You've been buying music for a long time, as we learned last week. And you're not really going to be too fussed about the chin strokers, are you? Because I know you already come across a couple. You're muted. Okay. Right, Julie, let's hear from yourself. Any more input on this? Because I know you've definitely got the fire in your belly, and you're pushing forward with rebranding and reinventing yourself.
For me, obviously, I'll just give a bit of back history, because I started in the early 90s, got seriously diagnosed with an illness called lupus, which left me not able to do anything. So music for me was my only thing that was my main focus. But what I've noticed through the years is like what you said, how commercial it's got, how the youngsters now, they're more into the mashups. They don't even like to hear say if I played a 10-minute song, they would not stand still for that. They just want it short, sharp, snappy, energetic, and very, very different to what I'm used to. So I'm learning now not to just adapt myself, but to watch more intrusively of my surroundings when I go out clubbing now, to how people move, how they enjoy themselves, just what makes them really want to soak in the atmosphere. So now as I'm going back into it, I've now decided that definitely going back into radio broadcasting to get used to presenting myself as a radio presenter as well, as much as a DJ, but more so purposely going out to different events to see how people enjoy the different genres. Sorry, I'm dyslexic. Genres of music. So for me, I'm learning not adapting myself to change myself, but be more willing and more open to see what's happening around me in terms of music and the music industry and stuff like that.
All kudos to you, most definitely, because you got to that point where it's no secret, I myself, I turned my back on it all. I had enough. It just didn't feel right anymore. Yeah. And having the energy and the desire to do that, it's as soon as you have that desire and you're not enjoying what you're doing, it's time to step back. And I did, and I think a lot of people have got to that point down the years. Go on, Stu.
Sorry, I just wanted to expand on what Julie said there, because it was what I was going to mention as well, is the way that music has evolved, the way that younger people are soaking it up. And if you look at an edit of any classic track where people are trying to reintroduce a classic house track or something, they're now, a 1 minute intro with no beats. Then it's a condensed version of a bit of a verse and a chorus. And then it's a 45-second drop. And then you might get another 30 seconds of, the chorus. And that's how a lot of commercial music is being made now. And so as a DJ, okay, are you willing to kind of adapt to that? Or you're not, and that's fine if you're not. And then, okay, who's the crowd that aren't, consuming that kind of music anymore, which is generally going to be more around our age groups. So then how do you bridge that? How do you encourage younger people who are being fed, snippet soundbite music effectively? How do you bridge that gap and allow them to enjoy the kind of
start your own, change the game. Don't try and be the model, break it.
How would you get those younger people?
If it means having 5 people that want to do what you want to do, go with the 5. The 5 become 10, 10 becomes 20, 20 become 30. If people try and go into the bigger areas and try and change it, that doesn't make sense. Me and Andy, we never did that. We were like, okay, well, if they're doing that, then we're just going to go over here and do this.
Yeah.
Just never play by the rules.
A lot of the seasoned DJs as well. I see frustration. I have conversations with many of my friends who they'll talk about some young kid on the scene, some new name that's attached to certain camps, the camps who are doing really big things, and they're playing the same music that everyone else is playing, and yet everyone's screaming their names from the rafters, and it's just like, why? Because their Instagram game is on point. It doesn't make any sense, and that does frustrate a lot of the serious music heads from back in the day,
Quite well. One thought that popped into my head actually, and it hasn't been in my head for much long because I don't really have any thoughts per day. But with all of these, just speaking about the youth always wanting instant gratification, and it doesn't matter what tune it is that also going to be related by the drugs that they now take? Because gone are the days where you just have a couple of pills, possibly 1 or 2, and you'd be out all night on them. Now they're all doing that nitrous stuff. You can get cheap coke down the pub. Do you know what I mean? For years now, surely.
Apparently.
Has apparently, yes, apparently. I wouldn't know.
Allegedly.
Surely the drugs that change the way that they ingest their music.
I haven't really stopped to think about the drug scene. How it's consumed. It does make. I guess it does make a big difference.
But then they're not out for the music, then, are they?
Nah, I doubt it's the drugs. It's a TikTok generation. It's simple as that. I mean, it is.
Yeah.
I was watching a debate with these top 10 artists I've never heard of in the world, debating about what's going on with the music industry, and they're saying they're now being told, or they know they have to realize they don't have to make songs longer than 2 minutes. 2 minutes is a long track for them.
Yeah.
So they're making it for TikTok, and that's where majority of these younger people are getting their music from. TikTok and Snapchat, and all the rest.
And the Spotify playlists. You know.
There you go. Well, no, the Spotify thing, that's I think for maybe slightly older generation as well, but no, for everyone. But the point I'm making is a lot of music is being made for TikTok, and that's why. These kids' attention span is like of a gnat. They just onto the next one.
Well, I guess we are kind of steering somewhat away from the original topic about the role of the DJ, but the way that coming to you, Denise, the way that the music is consumed, I guess, would have an effect on the way the DJs are received. So, yes, Denise?
Yeah, I was just wondering, I have a question. So you were talking about, Simon was talking about basically building your tribe. You start with, or you stick to the people, and hopefully they will tell other like-minded people, and then you'll build a community that's interested in you. And but I was thinking of complementarity of promotional channels. So I was thinking along the lines of, okay, a DJ can do a lot to prepare the music, to select music, to produce music, all of that. But is that enough in our times without, using TikTok to put it out? How do you reach that target audience, beyond just doing the strictly DJ things? Do you have to go beyond that and think about promotion and how you present your brand online? Because that's a lot to think about, eh?
Mm. It is a lot.
It is very. No, I was just waiting to see if anyone else wanted to answer that. It's very difficult. I don't consider myself to be a promoter. I consider myself to be in a fortunate position to have built up a strong network of people over the last 20, 25 years who have followed me along the way. And the three ladies will attest to this. They were relatively late to the party, and yet they're amongst our biggest supporters now. So you can never be too closed-minded as to trying to reach out to more people. And yet at the same time, I make zero effort to try and reach new people when we're promoting Vocal Booth. I don't have a TikTok account. I don't really push anything on Instagram because I feel, and there's a slight, I very regularly question myself, as you all know, is it slightly arrogant for me to not want to promote to new people? Because I think, well, if they don't know about Vocal Booth by now, then they're not meant to know about Vocal Booth. I'm quite happy making that decision. And if that means, and I've said it time and time again, if that means that over the years, then the numbers dwindle, then so be it, because it's still our tribe, rather than going to these extents of pushing to and grabbing someone's attention, the TikTok generation. Then all of a sudden, next year, we've got 30 22-year-olds who may fit in, they may not be in place, and it's just like it kind of, the equilibrium's off. Maybe I kind of went off tangent there, but that kind of answers a little bit of the question, I believe. Anybody else want to have any input on that?
Yeah, try and test it. Word of mouth is the best thing for our music, especially when it's so specialized, and when you have a certain slant and a certain take on it. You can't explain to someone what that feels like unless it's what you're looking for.
Mm-hmm. I hear you. John, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I mean, for Vocal Booth, how do you change the format? You have so many DJs now who want to play, but as we say, we're only getting these snippets of them. They're not really getting that chance to maybe do what they really want to do in that short space of time. From your point of view, how do you change that?
Well, I actually had, I don't know whether you saw the video that I shared on the Facebook group. We had like a pep talk this year on the Saturday morning, where I gave all of the basketball jerseys out to all the DJs, and I said, as of last year, when we were still in the grips of COVID, most DJs got a 2-hour set because we only had a small amount of DJs, and people loved that opportunity. This year, obviously, it went back down to an hour or so. And I said to them, next year, we're going to change that up and people are going to get extended sets again. But that does mean that some DJs are going to miss out. Now, we will see some people won't come if they know that they're not going to be playing, which I just know it's going to happen. I won't take it personally. I won't take offense to it. But there are people out there who'll be like, well, what's the point of me going if I'm not getting to play? Not a lot of people, but again,
do you want those people?
Well, no, I do, because you know, next year's our 15th year, and with so many other events out there for people to see, so money being so tight. If this year it happened, a couple of DJs who have been with me for the last 10, 12 years, they didn't come along because they wanted to go to other events, and we've only got so much money to spend. Now, you know, that's completely their prerogative to do that. But then for them to want to expect to come back next year and get to play on the bill, it's like, well, you know, there's other people who need to get that slot now. So I hope that answers your question, John. You know, people will have to take a sidestep and allow, because in the past, everything, you all know, everything I do, it's all put to a vote. Initially, if I'm not sure how it's going to be received, I will ask. My general gut feeling is often correct. Sometimes I've been wrong, and so I'll change my original idea to what to what the mob wants, because without the mob there is no party. We're kind of getting away again from the whole role of the club DJ scenario. But at Vocal Booth, you know, if you can't play a set that you want to play, and like Steve, for example, Steve Reed, if you listen to his poolside set, it's so different, and it was received so beautifully, not just only at the event, but after the event as well. And that's all I want. I want to encourage people to step out of their comfort zone, because beforehand, everyone got the email, listen guys, don't play it safe, because you're going to do more harm than good to your reputation by playing safe. And that's all kindly bundles up what we've been trying to talk about in this little section. I think the credibility and the laziness, and again, I do believe that most DJs go out there with the sole intent of doing the best they can, and not always making decisions knowing it's not going to be the best decision. Sometimes it's not their fault. You know, especially if you're traveling around every week and you don't get the opportunity to know what's a massive tune or what's a frowned upon tune.
Could I put a question out there to the DJs, just to kind of turn it back to your original topic a little bit? Is so in a club situation, if what you're playing just isn't working, okay, and you tried maybe a different tact and still somehow just not quite working with the crowds, not getting and engaging with people on the dance floor. So in your guys' experience, what would you do at that point? Would you be like, fuck it, I'm just going to play what I want because nothing else is working, and I'm just going to try and educate people on the music that I love? Or would you just keep plugging away, just keep trying, maybe chuck a couple more classics in there, try to get people on the floor? How would you react to that kind of situation? Because I think, you know, I've seen that around and about, and I'm always curious to how people behave in that situation.
Good question. Who feels they are qualified to answer that?
I'm trying to think. I've never had that situation.
I keep answering all the questions, so I was going to be quiet on that. I mean, listen, you've
Schoolie, have you had it? I haven't. I can't think of anything like that. Well, you was doing your thing, and then everything just went wrong completely.
Listen, if you haven't had it, then boy, you're very lucky, man. I a couple of times tanked at Southport. You know what I mean?
Ooh, okay, all right.
But wait, explain, why do you feel you tanked? The reaction wasn't there, or?
The time when the two times for me was when there were huge changes in the funk bass. I have a set thing that I want to go in there. One, make you lose your mind. Two, play about 4 records that you haven't heard, and four new records that you haven't heard, 4 classic records that you haven't heard. Then the rest in between that kind of take you on a bit of a journey. I think in situations like that, there's always going to be a win if you leave that scenario, leaving people with something that they haven't had before. You've just got to do what you got to do. It might not look like it's not working down there, but you can never tell what's happening on the dance floor from that perception, because there could be 2 or 3 people losing their mind out of 400.
So how do you determine that you tanked then? How did
Listen,
you evaluate that?
I follow Groove Rider
Okay.
at 5 o'clock in the morning.
That's so because
Everyone was knackered, so basically that's what you're saying.
Yeah, man, it went from like 4 million miles an hour to the last set. Do you know what I mean? Where do I go? I'm a soul boy. I ain't got records at 156. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's bad luck on your
We're on
part.
it.
That's,
So,
yeah,
you know,
couldn't
it's,
do
it's,
nothing about it.
it's situations like that you kind of learn. You learn that when you're in the deep waters, man, you learn the most about yourself as a DJ.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's all good and well walking into a well-received room, and I think the more you are well-received, is that's when that complacency sets in. So when you go into a hostile environment and you can make that situation work, that, like I said earlier, that's when that magic happens. You know what I mean, if you're revered everywhere you go, like Louis cannot do no wrong. Louis could play 60 versions of Kumbaya, remixes, Indian goat herding music, and people would think it was the most amazing thing ever. So I think we're talking a lot about the DJs, but we also need to talk a lot about the people that actually go to these events too, because their perception of what they want has changed too. Because now everything's readily available. They've got access to more music before, whereas we had the music. That was it. Mm-hmm. If you weren't listening to our radio shows, if you weren't coming to our clubs, you were not hearing the music.
We was the gatekeepers.
And I think that's where things have been lost. Because now with the DJs, but now everybody has access to the world's music catalog on this.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
And most of them aren't genuinely listening to the music. They are picking 1 or 2 and expecting that everybody else knows that. When you have a club of people all with their favorite bits of records that don't genuinely work. It might be your favorite at home, but as a club, as a punter coming out, that record doesn't necessarily translate. So there's a huge discrepancy now between DJs and clubbers. I think everybody should be issued with a clubber's card. You either have a red, yellow, or green card. Red, you're just here for a good time. Yellow, you're kind of intermediate for both. And green, you are there purely for the music. That way you get to the door, show your clubber's card. You know what I mean? So okay, you go to room 3, you go to room 2, and then everybody will be happy. If there was something like that in place, everyone would be happier, because you have new people being introduced who don't necessarily quite get it, don't want to go to where Moodyman's playing and be looking around going, like, you know, I don't get this. This is shit. And I'm like, no, actually, you've got the wrong idea of why you're here.
Mm-hmm.
So there is a responsibility for the clubbers to educate themselves too. And with so much going on at the moment, you know, Pugs, you touched on a good point. You know, there are no gatekeepers. There are no people holding your hand saying, listen, like we were brought into the scene by certain people. Do you know what I mean? I was educated by sound men, you know, on what to play, when to play, you know what I mean? Warm-ups, main set, playing late. There were certain codes of conduct within a certain time frame of a night. You wouldn't go in playing early, playing a main set.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you played the late set, then you were the one responsible for keeping the people in. So
let me ask one question then. We've got 5 minutes left because I'm going to be very strict with the timings. Danny will be able to confirm this. I'm not sure if it was Moodyman or he mentioned Theo Parrish earlier. Famous for resetting the whole room when they would start a set with like 2 minutes, 3 minutes of absolute nonsense, whale noise, whatever. Danny, correct me. Does that sound familiar, Theo or Moodyman?
It sounds a kind of a Theo thing.
Yeah. Is that right? Is that arrogance? Is that bravery?
Well, I don't know. It's not how you mean to go on. See, it's funny to be dragged into that. See, when I used to when I was younger, there's a song about that. When I used to go out raving and stuff, every set would start off and it wouldn't be flowed into it. So, do you know what I mean? You'd go out, somebody would start their set brand spanking new and it just wouldn't carry on. And to be honest, I do think playing a bit of shite at the beginning of your set isn't the right way to go about things. Play it in the middle, by all means. You've got me captivated by then, but not at the beginning, because, again, as Simon was saying, if you set off wrong, you're going to lose the crowd.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean?
Especially in this day and age where a lot of people on the dance floor are gagging for a cigarette and they're waiting for their first excuse to go outside and have that. I think that made a big difference as well. Joking aside, you know, the
That's
whole
true.
smoking ban made a big difference. Okay, well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you. 56 minutes in. You know, sorry, OBS people. we'll get there. We'll get there. Any words to wrap up? Any? Does anything that you heard strike home or has raised interest? Any ideas for topics next week if we want to carry on?
OBS.
Yeah, please. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what we'll do is I'll make a point when we begin to you know, so now I still want to have a little bit of discussion at the beginning because it's, you know, it's been lovely having the ladies with us, and I want to encourage more people to join us, and they're not going to want to sit and listen to 60 minutes of OBS tutorials. Do you know what I mean?
What about if you have a buzzer after 10 minutes?
A buzzer?
Go
No,
old school.
with
Like a
30
timer.
minutes. We just
Countdown.
we'll put some questions. We just don't have to get so deep. Yeah, so we'll definitely do OBS next week, and we can talk about something else. Thank you for passing through. It's not, you know, we are slowly but surely gaining momentum. So and this will be recorded. I've got to edit the beginning slightly because I forgot to activate one of my cameras, and I'll stick it up on my YouTube because I know a lot of people couldn't make it live who want to watch the recording. So thank you, everybody. Much appreciated. And yeah, keep in touch and have a fantastic weekend. The Troublesome Trio, have a great day. How long is your party going on for?
Well, Carol's staying till Monday and Andrea until tomorrow.
Okay. So what's the plan tonight?
Trouble.
We haven't decided yet. We did the Christmas market yesterday, so a bit of sightseeing, being a bit cultured, perhaps.
Okay.
Yeah.
And a DJ controller on the side. What's all that about?
Don't know.
Taking over. Here we go. Here we go.
Indeed. Okay, guys. Well, listen. On that note, oh God, I've lost you. On that note, I will bid you all farewell. Thanks so much for passing through.
All right, people, have a good one. I'm on from 12 to 2.
Yeah, we're all going to get Giles on pressure now. See you later, guys.
Pressureradio.com.
Say goodbye.
Recordings